Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is May 16th, Thursday, 8:15 in the morning on the East Coast, and I have for the past 20 minutes felt like I've had to sneeze, but I cannot. So you will not see it. I will cut it if I do. But anyways, welcome to the channel. My name is Sal Vetri. I cover daily fantasy sports in the NFL streets, NBA, golf, MLB now. Yes, MLB started it back up yesterday since opening day. Have not covered it, but yesterday. There will be a video today. And yes, these showdown slates. I'm going to make it a little bit more brief for the showdown slates. Probably, hopefully, I say that every single time. If you watch this, you know me. It might still go 20 to 25 minutes, but we'll quickly break it down. Have not been playing these showdown slates past couple of days, been focusing on MLB, especially more so on golf. So check out all that content if you would like. If you're new here, hit a like button if you get any enjoyment out of this video, as well as the returning subscribers. Hit that notification bell. Helps me out a ton. And subscribe at any point throughout the video. We get about 30 or 40 new people to the community a day. Drop down in the Discord if you have not already. It is a free just group messaging app. Every single type of fantasy sport is in there. Sports betting. We can add anything that you guys want in there. Just channels to talk on with other people, whether it's just about strategy, whether it's about lineup construction, whatever it is. I'm in there as well. If you at Sal, that's how I'll see the message better. Otherwise, I really don't keep up as much because there's just a couple of hundred people talking in there, right? So hop down in there. Again, if at any point you get any sort of satisfaction throughout this video, let me know. Also, I want to shout out Draft Dashboard. They are adding a lot of tools. You can check out Draft Dashboard. There's a link down below, $1 for 30 days. They're adding a lot of tools to their site, and now that I'm playing baseball a little bit more, I'm using those tools, whether it's batter versus pitcher, which I don't really weigh too much unless I'm looking at one-offs, things like that. So check it out. For NBA, they also have tools as well. So yeah, they have a lineup optimizer, ownership, all that sorts of things. So for the NBA today, what I want to talk about is there was a blowout in this game, obviously, a couple days ago. 22-point blowout, whatever it might have been. You didn't get all the run, or barely. You just missed out on getting all the run out of some of these starters for both teams. Not just the Warriors blowing out. Both teams did not play pretty much the last 2.5 minutes. Their starters did not play in that game. So when you're seeing minutes from the last game, pretty much bump everybody up at least for a grounding spot for 2 to 3 minutes from the starters. That's what I did. What you're seeing over my shoulder, or in front of me, but over my shoulder right now in the video, is my projections for tonight's game. Have not gone through and adjusted points per minute, but I looked quickly, and for the most part, it looked good. Draymond would be the only one that I would boost significantly, but if you want these projections updated after I update them after the video, head over to Patreon. You can also support me there. So what I'm doing here is I'm just looking at a few things. The winning lineup, and took down the whole entire thing, was a guy from Roto Grinders, Big T, whatever, 44, Big TD 44, whatever his name is. And he had Steph Curry and the captain, then Clay, then Draymond. He had all the Warriors. He pretty much went for the blowout mode. Then he got Mo Harkless on the back end. Harkless playing a lot of minutes out of, seems like nowhere. I thought Aminu would get those minutes, but not the case. So when we're looking at this game, we have a little bit of a sample, but there still was a blowout. So I give bumps to a couple of guys. I have Steph, so we'll go through the Warriors. I have Steph at 38 minutes. Draymond at 39 can very much touch 40. I had to give him an extra minute because I had an extra minute lying over after I did all my projections. Clay's at 40. So the thing with Clay is he picked up 3 fouls in the first half, and he came out after his second foul for about a minute. And then after he picked up his third foul in that second quarter, he came out for the last 30 seconds or so. So he missed about another minute and a half in the first quarter that he would have normally seen run for, and then he didn't play the last 2.5 minutes. So I pretty much just give him a 4-minute boost there, and then I give him up to about 40 minutes. I do like Clay. I might have said Steph, but I do like Clay a lot today at 40 minutes. Played extremely well in the last game. Still no KD for tonight. It's going to be very good for Klay Thompson. We already predicted in the last game it would just mean more shots for him, and he was hitting pretty much every three, at least every time I was watching the game, like it seemed. CJ McCollum is fine at 38 minutes on the other side of the ball. I have him there for Damian Lillard. I have for 40 today, down 1-0. I think these guys get maybe a little more run. And his Cantor, we thought that he would play decent. He was extremely cheap, way too cheap in the last game. Now he's 7,400, price coming up to where it should be. Some interest there. Andre Iguodala, another guy who, due to the blowout, did not get as much run. He got 30 minutes in the last game, not as much as we're used to seeing. I have him at 34 today due to that blowout. Give him an extra minute or two as well. Kevon Looney, $4,000. Have him in for 24 minutes today. That's what he played in the last game. I think he's a very good value play. I don't think I put him in the captain spot, but in terms of getting a guy in there, $4,000, he might be, in terms of the cheap options, the best cheap option available at that price point. I like him over Seth Curry, who I think does not see as much run as we think that he does, and same with Zach Collins, who's a little bit more expensive at $5,000. Zach Collins played 18 minutes in the last game, I believe it was. But he saw the last 2 minutes of blowout run. Same thing for Seth Curry. He played 19 minutes in the last game, but he saw the last 2 minutes of blowout run. So realistically, Collins would have played around 16 in that game, and Seth Curry would have played around 17. So that's not great. You saw a little bit of increased run for Enes Kanter in terms of just getting the upper parts of his minutes, or the ones you feel confident about, around 32. But the big reason was Mo Harkless playing 30 minutes in that last game. That impacted Zach Collins. We saw Aminu continuing to play his reduced minutes. He's played 17, 7, and 18 now. I have him in for a little bit of a bump today at 20. Rodney Hood saw 26, continues to be in that range of 24 to 28 minutes. Comfortable projecting him for 26. The big bump was Aminu. Instead of playing 16 minutes, he saw double that, which took away from Zach Collins just a bit. It continued to take away from Al-Farouq Aminu and maybe even a little bit of your Seth Curry. So in terms of the cheap end options from both sides of the ball, I don't have interest in Andrew Bogut, who only saw 8 minutes. And I have right now 20 guys scoring fantasy points in general. I don't have interest in Andrew Bogut. I don't have interest in Jordan Bell or McKinney. Those guys combined are right around on an average of 10 minutes each for me in this game. Quinn Cook, the same thing. I have him in for 10 minutes. No interest at 1,800. Sean Livingston, I'd start to get some interest in, but $3,000 is too expensive. If he was 1,200, then yeah, I'd start to get interested in him because he's going to play 13, an average of 15 minutes a game in this series, and he can knock down 4 or 5 shots in a game, and at $1,000 or $1,500, that's good. 3,000, it's too expensive, at least in my opinion. Jonas Jerebko saw around 12 minutes in the last game. Don't want any there. Seth Curry, like I said, he should have only played around 16, 17 minutes in that last game. He got blowout run, and he's not effective. He's a 0.69, 0.65 fantasy point per minute guy. So I pretty much knock off those 6 or 7 guys right away, and now I'm left choosing between a player pool of 13 players. I have it factored right now by fantasy points, projected points, and don't look into the value. That doesn't really matter. That's just for when there's bigger slates. But if we project this by salary, I pretty much can just start, for me, looking at Evan Turner, who is right here. So if I kind of block off the rest of these players down here, just bear with me. Then I have only 13 players left that I have any sort of interest in. All these guys are going to score at least in my projections, 12 or more fantasy points. Evan Turner is very loose. It's only because he's 3,400 if you need to get up somewhere else or leave some salary on the table. Again, that's the best way to differentiate for these types of slates, is just leaving any sort of money on the table. But Looney is probably realistically the low end that I would go to. I think Aminu is interesting at 4,400 because, yes, he played 18 minutes in the last game. And if we quickly go over to Popcorn Machine, was there any reason did he get in any sort of foul trouble? No foul trouble in the first half at all. He just did not see big run. He played in the first half 8 plus 4. He played 12 and a half minutes in the first half. So it's interesting that you don't see him playing or finishing with around 25 minutes. He comes in the second half. He gets 2 personal fouls. He pretty much gets taken out after the second one, an offensive foul. He played 6 minutes there. So he was at right around 12 and a half. He was around 18 and a half minutes, and then he didn't play the rest of the game. So I think Aminu is going to be a little bit underowned when he should be. 4,400, I like him a lot because, yes, he only played 18 minutes, but he didn't play the final 18 minutes of the game. I imagine if the game stays close and he didn't pick up 2 quick fouls in the third quarter, that he sees a normal rotation around 5 minutes at a very minimum in the fourth quarter, and probably closer to 6, which would bump him up to 23, 24 minutes for this game. That is something that I'm going to adjust as of right now as we're speaking through this. For Al-Farouq Aminu, I'm going to give him 24 minutes. That's going to have to take off minutes from elsewhere. We'll take some from Evan Turner. This doesn't really matter where I'm going to eventually take them from. We'll take 2 there, and we have to just take 1 from somewhere else. Let's just take another from Mo Harkless. Let's give him 29. So Aminu, I have 24 minutes now. Had him at 20, but me seeing that he didn't play the last 18 minutes of the game, I don't think that that's realistically going to hold up. He would have gotten another rotation at some point in that fourth quarter. I believe the blowout is probably what fueled that pretty much going south for him. So yes, I think Aminu at 4,400 is a very good play because he's been playing terrible the last 3 games. I think last game, 18 minutes is not realistic. I think he sees a minimum of 22 with upside of 24, and if he's playing well, give him 26, right? So I think Aminu is a nice sleeper at 4,400, not in your captain spot, but in your utility spot for a guy who on a slate like this could be very low owned because of his recent production. That's where you can get some sort of leverage. Don't really want any Zach Collins at $5,000. I was on him all of last series, but on a showdown slate, I'm not really confident in him seeing 20 to 22 minutes. It seems like Kanter's shoulder is getting as healthy as it can as the days go on, especially with that increased rest between the conference finals. in the quarterfinals. Rodney Hood, I think, is fine at 5,400. Should continue to see minutes. Mo Harkless, I would not go back there. But again, Mo Harkless had an important role in this offense, played 30 minutes. So me saying I would not go back there is not saying I'm going to completely fade him. But I do prefer Rodney Hood there. Mo Harkless kind of played not out of his mind, but he got more minutes and he played well with those minutes. He's a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy. If he gets 30 minutes or 29 minutes again, do not expect 30 plus fantasy points. Expect closer to right around 20, which I think Rodney Hood could beat that way more than the ownership will entail today. So on the low end, I have a lot of interest in Aminu. A lot of people are going to go against that, but I think he sees closer to 24 minutes. Good amount of interest in Looney. I like Rodney Hood over Zach Collins and Mo Harkless today. And then once you get up to this range with Andre Iguodala, I think he's fine. I don't have a real take on him. You can put him in or not. I think that I continue to roll out the Steph Curry in the captain spot. Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum were not needed in a winning lineup the last time out. I don't believe to see that continue. If I had to pick between one of them, and you can only fit one, it'd be Damian Lillard. If you could fit in the rest of your pieces, again, I'm probably not dipping below $4,000 with Kevon Looney, so it depends where you find your value. Draymond Green, I should probably bump him a little bit. This should be a neutral matchup with this being his fantasy points per minute, and that gets him to around 41 fantasy points for today. So yes, I like Draymond today. I would not put him in the captain spot, although a 20, 10, and 10 game for a triple-double is very much possible for him, but Steph Curry is the guy who's going to be the biggest beneficiary once again. I continue to like to roll out Steph in the captain spot. If not Steph, I like Clay there. And then if you want to go completely off the board, I'm not against putting Cantor in there, who can go for a 20 and 15 or a 25 and 13 game, have you 45 fantasy points in the captain spot, and he's needed. So in terms of captain, I like Steph, Clay, and Enes Kanter. I wouldn't hate you if you put Damian Lillard or somebody in there. It's just these are tough matchups for Lillard and McCollum, and we saw that in the last game. They were very much so limited. Somebody tried to tell me that Klay Thompson is not going to be a good defender compared to Torrey Craig in the last series, which the reasoning made somewhat sense, right? Torrey Craig his only goal out there is not to score, but it's to defend. Klay Thompson is an elite player in this league. He can score and also get back on defense and keep his head straight to also defend at a high level, which he does. So, yeah, I think that's where I lean. Draymond, like I said, is a great play. I like him in the utility more so than the captain spot, just because I think that his ceiling relative to Steph, relative to Clay, based on the shooting ability, is not as high, especially when we take into account Steph going for 60 last game is probably closer to his projection. I have him at 53 today, but this is not taking into account. He should be closer to that, which would give him, well, that's a little bit aggressive, I would say. Probably around there, which gives him around 56 fantasy points. So, yeah, that is by far 10 more fantasy points than anybody else in the slate. It's tough for me to get away from Steph and the captain. Again, Steph, Clay, Cantor are guys that I like for the captain spot. I really like off the board, I guess you can say, Aminu. I think people are going to shy away from him. I think he sees 22 minutes as a minimum today, and I would prefer Rodney Hood over Collins and Mo Harkless. I'm fine with Looney. Outside of that, McCollum versus Lillard, if you have the extra money, I'd go to Lillard, but make sure you're leaving at least $600 on the table. Somebody said, that makes no sense to me. Why leave that much? Well, if you're not leaving any money on the table, if you're leaving $0 on the table, you can guarantee at least most likely 20 other people have your lineup. So even if you win, you're splitting the money. Who wants to split the money? That's not great. And realistically, there's a great chance if it's chalky, you're going to have hundreds of people having the same lineup, which at that point you have no upside. Even if you win the whole damn thing, you're going to walk away with a few $100s at most. You might as well have played a smaller tournament and just ran the same lineups and just split it, or just try and knock down a 100-man with a unique lineup. You have a better upside there where you can win $500 instead of splitting it with all your friends for $200 each. So be unique, leave 600 plus on the table. That is my take on this showdown slate. Hit me with a like. If you're new here, drop down below, let me know you're new, and let me know who do you think is going to be the highest scoring player not named Steph Curry on the showdown slate. Who do you think the viable captain will be tonight? Let me know all that. My name's Sal. You already know that. Peace out, gang.